everyone, and welcome to the Omakase Show webinar series. My name is Wawa or Oana Yara, and I'm hosting the series. Normally, it's a weekly series, but this time of year I've been busy, and we also had a lot of cancellations coming from the speakers. Before we start, I wanted to let you know that I am hosting an open call, and you have until September 8th to submit, and the winner would be represented by Art Fungible and also will be showcased at our event in London this September. You can just go to my profile on Twitter and you can find this post, and there is a type form link that you have to kind of fill in to join the open call. So yeah, don't hesitate to do this one. Another one is our normal announcement is that you can always support our show by going directly to our profile on Twitter, which is Omakase Show, and then there is this cash button. And so today I have an amazing guest whom I met at NFC Lisbon. His name is Jaen. We've been actually practicing before the webinar. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure. Can you straight away tell us a little bit more about yourself and what do you do?
Hi, so my name is Jean, and I'm an artist. I've been doing that for roughly 20 years, although I guess for all artists, it's like it starts when you're born, so it's hard to pinpoint. But professionally, I would say 20 years. And I was doing more traditional art before, so painting, drawing, and then illustration. That became more digital and street art. And using more and more digital tools alongside making music on the side, I gradually became a full-time digital artist now.
You have a lot of mediums that you use, like so many, and I will just share my screen to showcase some of your works. Can you tell us more about your creative process?
Before it used to be easy because it was mostly I draw something on paper, then I scan it, and then I make something out of it in Photoshop. But now that I'm using code and music and animation and sometimes a bit of AI and even generative art now, it's much more. It's less of a streamline. It's more like I have an idea, and then I start to work on it, and I will have a lot of back and forth between various softwares and how I want the piece to look or how I want people to experiment it. And so it's very different for each piece. I don't have like a general process, but it's always starting from a concept or an idea or a story to tell. I don't like some artists, they would just start with the process basically. So launch themselves at a canvas or something else and just build intuitively. And it's not my case. I'm very focused on ideas and concepts.
I see. And so, as for now, like currently, what is your favorite medium? Maybe you would have like one that you're mainly using just currently right now.
I use mediums together, so I really can't have a specific one. Obviously, the first I've been using was painting, drawing, so that would be maybe the more signature thing for me. But I really love animating and I love music too, and and the possibilities offered by coding or stuff like that. So yeah, I always say I don't have a favorite colors, and anyway, playing favorites is for me more like a kid's thing. It's oversimplifying reality, and there's so much to be done and to discover and to use. So if you're going to say my favorite color is blue or yellow, you're like, depends on the context, it depends on the other colors that are around, and it's the same for me for mediums. It just has to serve the piece, so the concept or the story of the piece.
You have an artwork behind you.
Yeah.
Are those made by you or?
Yeah, it's a project that will be released this month, hopefully. I've been working 4 years on it, and it's so I picked designs from the Flemish Renaissance from 500 years ago, and I cleaned them. I added uh, colors, lighting. I transformed them into pixel art, into AI art, into many different iterations for each of them, and together they make a series. And it's about bridging the digital Renaissance and the past Renaissance, and possibly to the future Renaissance, because the hope and the goal is to make them survive maybe 500 years more, so that someone can pick the legacy of these further and further. Um, this is a
Those are
very
them,
raw.
right?
Yes, it's the time chain. Yeah,
I
and yeah, I mean, I can talk about it. It's a very long and complex thing.
I know that you wrote a thesis on Japanese culture, art, philosophy. I also sense that those are quite like an Asian masks, and they have a lot of like Asian spirits, even like demons that look a little bit the same as those pieces. So, in general, can you explain how Asian culture inspired you and why Japanese culture particularly?
So it's funny because these ones, some of them look. This one, for example, the big one on the left, to me it looks almost like, I don't know, like Maya or Aztec or something like that. Even though it's very European in style, but they're really they're super European for me, because obviously, so they were done by someone who is a sculptor and was one of the first art students from anywhere in Europe, really, to study the ruins of a palazzo dating from the Roman Empire, which was Nero's palace, the Domus Aurea. And so him and a lot of other artists, they discovered this. They went on to study these new ruins buried underground under Rome, and they discovered what would become grotesque art. So grotesque come from grotto, because it's a cave, and inside it was, as you can see, stuff that is animal, mythical, human. It's a bit funny, it's a bit scary. Uh, it can feel good, but most of the time it's just really weird and slightly threatening. But with this kind of clownesque vibe, there's a lot happening, obviously. And so they took these, and to me, it's interesting because when you think about the Renaissance, most people will think more of the Italian side of things. So something very uh, trying to elevate the human spirit, become more rational, more scientific, discover uh, the good, the true, all these very Greek philosophers influence this kind of stuff. And the grotesque is quite like the opposite. It's like the punk side of the Renaissance. So there's a lot of energy. There's no meaning at all. It's not rational. It's just uh, designs that are made for their own sake, and they look a bit savage and chaotic. So it's very far from the ideals of the Renaissance, but it's still part of the Renaissance. So I like this sort of yeah, wild, mythical, and very strange vibe about them. That's why when I discovered them, I was like, I need to do something with them, because if you've looked at my art in general, I'm very focused on doing my own things. I don't really take other people's work to work on it, and it was the first time I did it in such a way. So there was something very specific that drew me to them. Yeah.
I love it. It reminds me there is there is a Balinese dance. It's a particular kind of like dance that they do on different occasions, and they have, I think it's God or it's demon, but a good demon that protects you, and his name is Barong. I will just share my screen, and it just reminds me a lot of
Yeah.
him,
Yeah,
like this
especially
stuff.
the big one. Yeah, my sister been to Bali too, and she was like, "Oh, you would love the barong," and I love the design. It has some similarities, yes.
Yeah,
I,
indeed, indeed. And it's like so memorable. And they also have like this kids' toys with barong on it. Like really interesting culture. Um, and so I wanted to ask you about working on commissions. You worked and created art for PayPal and Disney. Uh, Actually, maybe you would have some images of it because I couldn't find them. I just wanted to ask your experience. How was it for you? And in general, how do kind of you go for your imagination, but you also combine brand identity when you work on commissions like this?
yeah, it's an interesting question because it's sometimes doing commission work can be a bit of a love-hate relationship. So most of the time you do it either because you really love the brand or the company, and it doesn't happen very often. Most of the time you do it because you need money. It's basically that. And you hope also, of course, you have some minimum basis level thing that you can accept from a client. You can't accept any client with anything. So that being said, I think the toughest, you have two tough sides. One is that you make something for someone else and they have their opinion and they're not always the expert on what would be good art or not, but they are the expert on what they expect to be it to be on the marketing standpoint. So it's a tricky dance between you and the commissioners. It's not always good. Sometimes you will have like infinite feedback for if you if you have something to do for someone who is a micromanager. It's the worst thing you can do with an artist because you lose your soul by doing very small changes that amount to nothing, and then maybe a few weeks later you have your client come back and say, oh, in the end you were right, maybe not this, and you're like, oh, well, you're losing money, I'm losing time. Why will maybe trust me, I don't know. But you also learn because if you only do your personal work, uh, you know what you want. You grow, but it's a very focused way. If you work with clients, you're going to step out of your way and explore things you wouldn't have done necessarily the same way, or even sometimes just having real deadlines. You are going to push yourself in a way you wouldn't do by yourself just because you don't have time. So you have to find elegant and efficient ways to work, and it helps you on the long term. So yeah, it's tricky. I and also this is the best part is that you get better at it with doing more because at the beginning I think at least for me the path was going from oh, I have a client, I have to listen to what they tell me to do, and I will do something that is completely different from what I do. And in the end, you do something that is not really satisfactory for you. Maybe it's satisfaction for the client, but for you, not really. And then the more the time goes, the more experience you get, and probably the more the client change. You start to have something just closer to what you would do, and you have enough confidence to say, yeah, they chose me because I do that kind of work. So I'm not going to change my way too much and just do something that is really me. And well, the Disney one is a good example because I think it's my favorite personal, well, commercial commission with a personal style. I did exactly what I would have done if I chose to do it on my own. So that was really good, and it was for Mickey's 90th birthday. So that was cool.
Wow. I feel you so much, but actually from my own perspective, I worked at a corporate and I work with one generative artist because we needed him to redo something for us. And I did have a lot of kind of like changes and edits because we have a branding and we have a logo and we have sort of like fonts that we are using. And I didn't want to see a rainbow. I wanted to be like black and white, and I also felt the person, the artist, because he was extremely talented, but and every time I had to tell him that he has to change something, I felt so bad. But I also feel like currently we are organizing exhibitions and we have like three artists and me, and they both surround me like so much. We did an exhibition in London, And I was like, we are putting everything on easels. And they're like, no, we are putting them on a floor. I was like, we are not putting like digital frames on a floor. And they made me put digital frames on a table in position like this. They were like literally lying like this. It was like their creative idea. And I realized that there is nothing I can do. Like there is like I cannot even argue the way they see and the way they want to get their art exhibited is up to them, which is like a really interesting kind of thing to navigate. Which also gets me to the point where I saw your art first in Lisbon this summer at NFT Lisbon. And I think this was this piece, which was also exhibited at my exhibition, the side event. Can you tell us more about it?
So this was done a few years ago, although I had to rework it quite intensely at the beginning of the year because I thought it could be better, and I made it better. It was inspired by I had a kind of small burnout, yeah, 2 years ago, I think. So when you're in crypto all the time, sometimes when it's very active, you're all the time on Twitter. Stuff happens all the time. You try to use all your free time to do art, and it's very intense. And you probably saw it. People used to joke about how uh, 1 week on crypto Twitter would feel like a month or a year in the normal world because so much was happening. And so I was completely like empty. I wasn't sure where to go. I wanted to do something. It didn't work. And I had this kind of very, very, very low point. It didn't last long, but I noticed something that was interesting to me. So if you feel like you touch rock bottom, right? It should be just entirely depressing and uncomfortable. But at this point, darkness and being at rock bottom felt strangely comfortable, like sad but comfortable. And a, I didn't know what to do with that. So I did this piece. So it's a tire. I didn't. It tended to be a pun. I chose a tire just because a flat tire would be exactly how I felt at that time. Like you're supposed to be rolling, but you can't do it anymore. But so it became flat. And you see all these eyes, they have different emotions because it's a bit complex down there. But it's like it's sitting on the table at the bottom of the abyss and probably in the ocean if you look at the lights and everything. There's also sound. You can't hear it now, but yeah. And so yeah, so it's this strange moment of peace that should be horrible because you really feel like you couldn't feel worse, but at the same time it's comfortable. And funnily, when I did that, it was only that, and the moment I really understood why it was comfortable at that moment was when I reworked it at the beginning of the year. And yeah, I realized that it was something about I think I'm really good at starting stuff. I can I can very quickly draft a project, launch an idea for a whole series. At one point in my life, I couldn't sleep for one night, and I had an idea for like 10 books or 10 comic books worth of scenario just passing through my mind. I'm really good at starting stuff, but making it see like through the light, like getting to the end of it, finishing it in a way that's satisfying. It's like for everyone else, that's what's really hard. It's not starting. And so when you touch rock bottom, you kind of let go, which is good. But at the same time, the comfort comes the fact that, oh, I can rebuild from there. So I feel like I'm in this starting position where I have lots of energy and nothing to lose. But it's not really a good thing because the real uh, the stuff that matters is building. It's not starting again from scratch. You can start again from scratch your whole life, and you're not going to get anywhere. But when stuff gets hard, you don't. That's where it's hard and where it's important. It's not at the bottom of the ocean. It's like on the ground. You suffered something. It went wrong, but you don't go all the way back down there. You stay there, and even if it doesn't move a lot, you try to get through that. Because if you start from scratch, things move fast, right? I mean, at least I'm good at it. So I get up, I do a lot of stuff, and you feel like this whole first 50% of a project, say, it goes fast, it's very satisfying. But the last 50%, it's slow, it's hard, and it's less rewarding until you reach the finish line, obviously. So yeah, to me, it was about that. Like comfort, because you cannot go further down. You reach the bottom, you can only go up. Probably also because you have nothing left to lose. But then after that, you realize it's also not so good to feel comfortable in that position, because that means in some ways you've given up, or you rely on starting again something instead of finishing something that is harder. That's roughly the all the thing. Yeah, I got a bit sidetracked. I hope it's okay.
That's really interesting. And if I may ask, what helped you later on to get out of this comfortable but then also hard part of your life?
Um, Two things: making this work, which I didn't say at the time, but I was just happy to make something out of it, and that felt honest. And the second thing was, so what didn't work was, I did my first interactive piece. It was very conceptual. It's called What is Art? And it's basically a CAPTCHA, like a Google CAPTCHA, where you have to pick one of 9 images to go through a security check to know if you're a human. So the idea behind this piece is that to feel that you're a human, you have to choose on these 9 images what is art according to you. And so obviously having an opinion on art is very human, right? And so it's interactive. You can pick several stuff. It tells you which work it is. And I only chose artworks that are controversial. So If Klein's Blue, the Pixel from Pack, lots of stuff like that. So each of them actually asks a question about what is art or what is it not. And it asks the viewer to pick what they want and to have an opinion, basically. So I was really happy, very excited about the piece. First, because it was the first time I coded something. I was happy with the result, and I really felt like the concept was super, super strong. Like I don't feel that often, so when it's there, I know it. And I tried to mint it as a one of one, and no one would bid on it. It was a bit of the market, so yeah. But anyway, and so I was a bit depressed by that, and especially because I had lots of people telling me it was really amazing. So I was like, what's going on? Did I fail? Blah blah blah. And you spiral down. You're like, you're always wondering if you wanting to stay in crypto art is going to work. I'm way past wondering if I'm going to be an artist. My whole life, I know it's going to be the case, so that's okay. But you don't know if what you want to do as an artist is going to work on the long term. It's always you take what you have, but it's hard. So basically, after doing this piece, I was like, okay, I have to do something, because not doing something is actually not giving you anything. So you get back to basics, like just pull yourself out of it. So I took this piece, I burnt it, and I made it an open edition, way more accessible. And I was like, well, if so many people tell me it's good, just let a lot of people have it. And so I launched it. Everyone was doing, I don't know, like 1 to 3 days open editions. And I knew for me it would be hard to get back to proper engagement, people discovering it. There were really not a lot of people left. So I just basically DM'd everyone I know. I pestered everyone, I showed it everywhere, and it was hard because it's really not my thing. I don't like telling people, "Hey, this is my work," But I mean, it's your job, so at some point you have to try. And it was a massive success. So 140 editions in 2 weeks, and I think it's one of my biggest sales ever, probably. And so, of course, that gave me a lot of confidence. I was like, okay, so sometimes you make art, but it's just the way it's distributed, or sometimes it's just like you have to remember that you have to be more active in seeking collectors, although it's a very, very tricky subject because you don't want to be overbearing and over intrusive. So it's tricky. But anyway, I got out of this like in a big fanfaring success. So that was good.
You tweaked it around really nice. I feel like everything you shared is so natural. It's the way I feel sometimes when I'm doing something. I have a part of my work where I have to do like chaos outreach or in general like outreach where I text people and ask them to do something, and I absolutely hate it. And I always feel like it is a disaster. I feel like I'm being clingy or that I'm like being like, like too much of me is being in the life of this person that I'm reaching out to. Um, I've been talking to my client last week, and I told them how sad I am that, like, for instance, I have 20 leads and only five closed deals, for instance. Like, this is an example. They're like, wow, that's good. I'm like, what? I think it's a failure. And they're like, no, like 20 leads and five deals is like really nice. Like, honestly, this is a nice result. And then I realized that the world just works in a way where you try and something happens and then something doesn't. And I'm at the stage of my life where I'm trying to understand what would work for me and how I can get over anything that doesn't look like a direct success. Like, how can I not overreact about things not going the way I wish they would? So everything you shared was so like relatable to me and to how I feel sometimes. Um, which also leads me to a question. You also shared that creating this artwork helped you get over this stage of your life, which felt complicated and hard. Therefore, maybe you have some tips for people who are not artists. How can they express themselves? Maybe how can they, perhaps they cannot create an artwork, but maybe some other ways they can kind of get it out and move on.
Um, to me, it's I it's related not really to art, but just to being to the experience of living as a human being, because I always say to me, making art is a spiritual path, not at all in the religious sense of it. More like when I make a piece of art, it's about how I feel at that moment. And sometimes you're not sincere with yourself, so you make a piece and you first think, oh, this piece is about that because I feel that way, and then the piece gets finalized, it's out, and then you discover there was something else in your mind, like in the subconscious mind, and you realize your piece wasn't what you thought it was, and you discover it despite yourself almost. And so I think my approach to art, as much as I can, and to life in general, to for this kind of stuff, is just to it's really hard because it asks you to be very precise and attentive. It's to be honest with yourself. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, you're going to find a way to be honest with other people, right? But there's so many ways you can treat yourself, even when you think you're honest with yourself. For example, if lots of artists, it happens to me too. I'm not. It happens. Sometimes you get a bit jealous, or uh, you feel like something is not right, or you're not recognized the way you should be, or all that kind of stuff. And instead of processing the sadness of not having what you want to, or just acknowledging, okay, I'm jealous, or just behind that, acknowledging there are cycles, there is timing, there is also some stuff that is not depending on what you can do. Sometimes it's just like you do your best and it's not a great timing, but later it will work, or that kind of stuff. So sometimes you put all that under something else, like you get angry, and then you see a lot of artists saying, oh, right now this type of art or this artist is in high demand, and I'm going to tell you why it's shit and it's not good art. And when you do that, it's not because you have an opinion on art, it's that because you hurt. You hurt because your art doesn't work, and you're going to turn it into an intellectual thing, and you're going to argument to find logic in it. But behind the logic is just pain. So if you're honest with yourself, before you can write it and let it out and for nothing, and actually being counterproductive to you because no one likes people gratuitously whining. I'm not saying that you can't criticize art, right? You can not like something even if it's successful, but you will know yourself when you're actually honest and saying, okay, uh, does it really make sense that I don't like this stuff, or am I jealous, or maybe it reminds me of something I don't like, etc., etc. And so when you're stuck, for me, like for example, I've got this question a lot during interviews. What could you tell artists to, I don't know, to get through a creative block, for example? Any kind of block, and creative block for me, it doesn't really exist. It's not like you run out of it. It doesn't exist. So it doesn't happen to me a lot because you just realize that sometimes you need time to do something else. So if you want to do art and it doesn't work, it just means you have to either take a break, or you had this idea of doing something that is not art and you're really into it and you've been pushing it away, and you have to do it now because you're not going to get your brain back into art until it's done. And I think it's the same with almost everything in life. If you feel like you're blocked, uh, it means it's not the time for that, and you have something else to do, or just you have not enough time to take a break and be bored, for example. I find that it's hard when in our space because lots of stuff is happening, but boredom is absolutely the one thing that will make you more creative and actually have proper idea to actualize and move on. Um, it's so it's not like if you have a block and you do something else, you do nothing, and you're going to look at the wall and there's nothing happening, and then at a certain point your brain is starting to, like daydream, uh, go a bit into a random mode where you're not focusing on anything, you're not trying to do anything, and then at some point you're going to have this coming into your brain. It's like, oh, I needed that, I actually wanted to do that, and it's the perfect way to do it, and then you can go. But this doesn't happen if you're not bored. If you're always active, always trying to do something, to complete a task, to be active, it's almost the opposite of creativity. So yeah, I guess my advice would be learn to be bored again, and certainly do not check your phone whenever you don't have anything to do. That's a killer because you have these dopamine cycles, and you're always doing something. You don't allow yourself to be bored, and it's I'm guilty of it. I check my phone way too much. But if you go outside and you go in the tramway, the bus, the subway, whatever, you look at people. Everyone today is on their phone, right? It's great because you can communicate effectively. You can do a lot of stuff while you're on the move. But sometimes, if you never allow yourself to be bored and just be sitting and doing nothing, you lose creativity because you're sacrificing it for optimization and performance. And there's a time to be performing, and there is a time to be bored. And both are very complementary to me. So yeah.
Wow, that is so true. That is so true. I feel like with a phone, what works for me is to block hours, meaning that I have an hour where I review my emails rather than, making my whole day an email, because like you get like 5 emails per day, and if you review them once a day, but if you spend like all day reviewing the emails, you will get like 20 of those, like full instant communication that is
Yeah.
never ending. Um, but I also feel like I read this kind of thought that the more involved we are into the thing we are doing, where we are, the more dopamine we get out of it. And so I decided if I'm reading or if I'm making a hairstyle or if I'm washing my hair, if I'm cooking, I will be like 100% concentrated on this task. And based on this, I know that I would just get more fulfillment, more happiness out of it. this is what I'm trying to do, because I'm like the kind of person who can just eat and then watch something on my phone and then text somebody. It's like I have like all of this, and I think it is productive. But in the long run, I'm just drained and exhausted and not satisfied with anything that I did in this moment. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
but it's tricky because sometimes also some people they fall on the other side and they lack the kicking themselves in the butt and getting up to get stuff done, because you need that, right? So it's really the balance, being good to know when to switch into active mode and to inactive mode. And it's a dance. You have to learn to do it. And it's funny because actually most people do it but they don't realize it. You know that the common joke of you have your best ideas while you're doing your shower. I think it's because for a lot of people it's the last uh, stronghold of boredom, and also because you distress and you relax, you have hot water, it makes you feel it takes a lot of things out. But I think it's one of the last bastions where you don't have the screen inside, like in front of you, and you do nothing except relax. So that's probably because for this reason that lots of people are just going to be, oh yeah, I love the shower. I everything, like the best happens there.
that's actually, there are like three B's. It's a bed, bath, as a like car or transport, and then also a
Oh yeah,
bath, like a shower, where people like get most ideas. I have no idea why, but it just works. It's true.
yeah,
I even have been thinking, oh, my partner, he's more, it's hard for him to get started. He centers on creating something perfectly and then ends up not doing anything because he wants it to be like perfectly done.
yeah,
And this is something that is so not me. Like I feel like I should do like 20 things and they can be like, oh, pure crap, done super quickly. But it's better to get them done. And it's always, I remember I was talking to one person, and this person, he said, I don't have energy. I feel like drained and not motivated, and I don't want to do anything. And I remember, because this is not how I feel, because I'm at this stage now where I should be doing everything, and I never get this feeling where I'm low and I don't want to do nothing. I remember that I said, how come? Like, I think I said something like passive aggressive to him because I honestly couldn't understand and couldn't relate to the feeling of being demotivated, not wanting to do anything, because it's not how I feel. I'm telling you this because I also sense that you're a rather active person who wants to do a lot of stuff rather than like a person that maintains energy and likes to do everything like quietly and calmly and slowly. I feel like you're more like me, like really active.
yeah. Um, I think I'm both. It depends on the time. Sometimes, but I definitely know how it feels. Like your boyfriend, this trying to get everything perfectly. I've definitely done that quite a few times, and not pushing it to the finish because you're at some point you're just like, oh, it's not gonna work. But it's okay. I mean, once again, as long as as you're honest with yourself, sometimes it's okay to just drop a project because it's not the right time, or you lack something that maybe you will do better later, maybe in a year or something. Uh, I think it's fine. But it's also, yeah, there is a type of people they only do that, and it's really not a good path. I did a master class in Berlin. I don't know, like maybe 8 years ago, something like that, and our teacher said, uh, "Done is better than none." And it's good work to live by. And because if you never finish anything, you're not learning, right? You always stay in your head with all these ideas of perfection, but then you have nothing to show for it. And the execution, which is the hardest part, is not the ideas; it's really the execution. You cannot get good at it if you're not doing stuff and failing all the time, like failing. And you see, sort of like me, do a lot of stuff, but actually there's a mountain of stuff that you will never see, just because I start them, I play with them, I love the idea of creating them. And then when it gets very serious and closer to the end, sometimes it's not, I'm like, okay, it wasn't worth it, although I enjoyed the process, or I will finish it later because I feel something is missing in me to make it proper, or all this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so I have a mountain of unread stuff that will probably never see the light of day, but it's fine. As long as I finish some stuff, like this one, 4 years, I really wanted to get out.
Well, this gets me to the last question. What are you working on right now? Okay.
So basically, it was a long process because so there's 18 masks and each of them has now about 6 or 7 different variations of them. So the contract allows collector to choose which variation they want to have as the art. So you have a printable, huge resolution illustration. You have a video with glitches and music. You have an AI version of it, a second AI version of it with a different theme. You have a conceptual piece where it's a very small resolution image that is fully unchained, and um, it's only showing 2 more pixels, no, 1 more pixels every week, I think. Until so it will be the image will be complete in 500 years roughly. So this is conceptually trying to tie the whole series to the idea that it has to survive for a long time. And because the series is also about how can we achieve proper digital art conservation, and it's a very big field right now. I mean, very big field in theory because no one is actually pushing it, but I want to push it. I think we really need to find ways to make sure that art files stay playable and that we save the codec, the encryptions method, everything, so we can access files in the future. And this like future digital archaeology is going to be something very. Hopefully, AI will make it easier, but I'm not really sure. So we have to do our best to make sure that stuff survives. And so this series is about that too. And but also there is, because it's about time, there is also something very special. I was with a friend who was part of Async Art, a great platform. His name is Afro Viking, or NFT Art anyway. We were sitting in Paris for NFT Paris last time and just having a drink, like proper almost board time with ideas flowing and, chatting, not with something in mind. And we're thinking, we started to talk about commitment and collectors and art. And all of a sudden, about time, we had this idea. We're like, oh, imagine if we could turn that into an auction system. So the series will be released with a very specific auction system that hasn't been done before, which is baffling because I think it makes a lot of sense. And I'm super excited. I think it's going to be fun if collectors want to play the game. And well, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but the auction in itself should be fun.
Sounds
It's
really
going to
exciting.
allow people to make choices, and also the hint I'm going to give you is that you can bid with money, but you can also bid with something else.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's tied to the conceptually to the series. So yeah.
And when are you kind of planning to drop it, or you're not sure about the approximate date?
I said I thought it would be mid-September, but probably more like end of September if it's okay. So I'm relying on my friend to finish the auction system. And because it's very complex, it involves a lot of stuff, we have to make sure it's not going to be exploitable, and it's going to be like really working well, secure and everything. So we can't rush it. It's going to be ready when it's ready, and it's a bit out of my hands. So yeah,
For sure.
as soon as we can, basically.
Sounds really nice. I'm like really curious to find out. Well, thank you so much for your time. and energy. And I think it was like a really lovely chat, like a friendly one. And thank you so much. We are staying in touch. Please keep us posted on everything that you're working on. And have a lovely week.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was really good. And yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Bye.
Thank you.